Okay.
Is there? Um, never mind. There's a go live button. Well, now
Okay, so
it's
we're
live.
starting over.
We're starting over. Okay,
Oh
just
my
imagine the
gosh. Okay.
music. Oh my god.
All
Okay.
right. Oh, and just so that we have, let's say half an hour from now, so at 10 p.m.
I mean, we're live now, actually.
Okay, so we're gonna do a
Never
half
mind. There's
hour
a go live
podcast.
button.
Oh, okay. So it's actually so we thought we were
Yes.
live, but we weren't
Okay.
live. Now we're live.
Well, technical issues. But it works now. Okay. That is
All
good.
right.
Well, now I know for
Well, I'll
next
keep
time.
the intro short and sweet now that I've had time to practice.
Yes.
Um, today, but you got to do the echo. So, why, hello there, podcast listeners. Shams Nelson.
From Pen and Blade.
No, you're supposed to say what is it? Philcom, the Conqueror,
And
master of a thousand
right.
domains.
Okay, then let's do a third.
Gotta practice this, bro. Come on. What up, Thomas?
Yes,
Um,
sorry for that. Like we thought we were live. We talked like for 10 minutes, and then we realized no, we actually have to press the go live button. Um, but yeah, technical issues. Developer here, by the way. Um, yeah. So
we're
anyway,
going to just count that as the intro, and then we'll jump into
yes.
the topic, which is um marriage, because I recently got married. Uh, woohoo! In July, we had so there were two wedding ceremonies. I was telling Phil, and it got me thinking about all the different kinds of like ways that marriage happens in the real world, but then also in the fantasy world, how like got me thinking of how it can be used to build cool stories and world building and adventures and stuff like that. So we had our spiritual ceremony, which was several months ago, and that was just me and Sophia. And you can see her in previous videos from last year if you haven't met her already. And so, yeah, it was just us two and our two good friends, and it was very focused on like the spiritual divine union aspect of it, very just intimate in us two. And then last month, we had the family gathering and legal ceremony, which was like a whole party and everything like that. Um, and it was like I was telling Phil, it was kind of like a quest in and of itself in the real world where we had to like collect documents and like meet certain NPCs and take a trip down to the government building and like go a certain route. It was like like a tower dungeon to find this little office where we had to like do so. I mean, of course, it's not like as exciting as a D&D adventure, but it has the elements of a quest where you have to like collect all these different pieces and do all these different steps, and in the end, complete our mission of getting the legal marriage done. So yeah, I have some ideas of what kind of fantasy marriage stuff could be interesting to explore. But obviously, if people in the chat have ideas, share those. And Phil, if you have any ideas or anything new to share, I'd love to
Uh,
hear
you mean it's on
what's
the
up.
marriage topic? Um,
Sure. I mean, if you have news there, definitely tell me.
nope, still single. Thanks for asking.
This is gonna be a recurring thing. I'm gonna ask every single episode.
Oh god, it's gonna be
I
so
know, right?
depressing.
No, no, man. You're biding your time. You're finding the perfect. You gotta wait for the right one.
Right? Thank
So
you. Thank you. That doesn't
yeah,
sound so
no, it's a
sad.
wise. Don't waste your time, energy, and emotion if you know. I think you're being wise about it. But yeah, or anything else that's coming up in your
Not
life?
really. Not
Okay,
really.
cool.
No. Pretty boring, actually, right now.
Oh, no. Well, you're also telling me on the topic of marriage that I asked you and when we were first recording this if
Yes.
you were interested in the marriage within like a D&D game. And you were just like, nah, not really.
I mean, yeah, I can repeat it. Like it was like if it would come up, I mean, sure, but it's really hard to say, right? I don't think that's something that you can plan even in a D&D session. Um,
Yeah. Hey, it's a
yeah,
big step even in a D&D game, man.
yeah, that's true.
So, but yeah, so then it's um like I don't know. I lost my train of thought there. I was gonna say something about, but yeah. But yeah, no. So I'll share some thoughts about what kind of marriage things could happen in a fantasy world, and then you can give me whatever thoughts or ideas come up for you.
All right.
Like one thing that I'm curious about is when they have the half breeds. So like a half elf,
Mm-hmm.
but even weirder, a half orc.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say an orc and a human want to get married, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just think that like for especially the orc, both sides of the family, there's gonna be some drama. And
Oh
especially
yeah.
the orc side, right? I feel like you would have to like prove yourself to be accepted into this orcish tribe. Like who knows what the rites of passage or like, who's gonna try to take you down
I,
or
I mean, I can imagine there could be some tension in between, and it was from the beginning like some forbidden love. So
yeah,
they might have gotten married like in secret.
in
Um,
secret, but
with,
then it would still have to be like honoring the orc tradition. So it must be done by like a war chief is the only one who can like, perform the marriage rites in orc custom. So then it's like, okay, we got to find another orc chief that will like, and then convince them that we should be married. And like, that could be like a whole quest or like, tied
I
into the
think more
world
like
building
campaign,
somehow.
more like full campaign.
Yeah, like a folk, no, exactly. Yeah, maybe I'm not using the word quest and campaign very discerningly, but yeah, I'm probably talking more of a campaign.
Just imagine like you're going on an epic adventure to get married.
Yeah.
Yay.
The only character that could have a marriage like thing be a quest as opposed to a campaign
Mm.
could be like a bard. If you want to do a one shot where you
Mm-hmm.
you have everyone plays a bard character and the goal is the first one to get married, and you
Oh,
have like a 2 hour session to do it.
it's like a battle
So
royale. Whoever is the first to get
yeah,
married
yeah, only
wins.
one standing. So it's just like a series of charisma checks. You like walk in, like, okay, where do you go? It's like, I'm gonna go to the bar. I'm gonna go to the library. I'm gonna go to like the king's court. And then it's like, all right, here are the options. You gotta choose one.
I don't want to
Like,
be the DM of that session though. That sounds
dude,
really chaotic. Um,
that does sound chaotic. I'll DM that. I'll DM that. So you'll play because I know you've been dying to do some marriage D&D role play.
oh
That's
yeah,
clearly
dying.
been dying. That's you can't you've been it's all you said this whole podcast. Yeah, we can get Will and if you want to petition to be added into this experience, then let us know in the
I
comments.
mean, he has to. I mean, does he really have a choice?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think Sophia would find that intriguing. She might have a fun time with that. So maybe we will do it. Maybe we'll do it.
But yeah, I think
Okay.
it's a very interesting concept. I've never actually thought of D&D as something where you could do something, but the characters you, Sophia and you are playing in our current campaign,
Yeah.
I could see you at some point getting married also in the campaign. I don't know. I get a feeling there.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, not a bad feeling you got there. But right, it's like a side quest. And it's funny, I didn't start off thinking that that would be like my plan. But I
Yeah.
was like, this is kind of a cute relationship. I could see this happening with our characters, you know. But then the weird thing is she's a fairy and he's an Eladrin. So there is some Fey ancestry there. But like I don't know about like the size difference as far as being a normal relationship and or children. We were actually talking about this and we were like, what would a half fairy be like? Would it just be like a normal sized elf with like one wing? Or like what is I don't
That's
that's
good.
a whole nother question.
Oh yeah.
So, but I feel like that's a topic for its own podcast, and we'd have to give that like a disclaimer NC-17 warning.
Oh
So let's
yeah.
not get into that too deeply.
Definitely.
But but yeah, no, I remember we had the half races are something that's interesting to explore. We there was a lot of talk about dorks for a while in the Discord. Don't know if you remember the era
The
of the dork.
the dork. Can you
The
refresh my
dwarf
mind?
orcs,
Ah
half
no.
dwarf and half orc.
No.
Well, if you scroll back far enough on this Discord, you probably find some dork fan art
Okay.
done by me. I did actually a pretty elaborate piece. I did some drawings of dorks. So
Wow.
the hashtag York, let's bring that into the world. Um, yeah, putting out good vibes for that.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, but I could
so
also
the
imagine.
other,
Sorry, go
what's
on.
up? No, go for it.
Yeah, but also it's not just like half orcs, for example. Like just imagine like any sort of interspecies marriage in D&D could be very complicated. Like there are races in D&D that hate each other, so they would probably go to war before that marriage would happen. Um,
Ooh, what just came to mind is the what do they call it? Like the abyssal war. I don't know, but the devils versus the demons. You know how they're like separate in the D&D. I think I'm pretty
yeah.
sure in the D&D lore, like in hell, it's like has two different, the abyss and the
Hmm.
inferno or whatever, and the devils and demons. So you could have a love affair between a devil and a demon. That'd be pretty weird. But yeah, there's a lot of hate races that don't get along,
Yeah, but also, for
and that
example, I'm not sure if that was D&D or some other system, but was it the dwarves and the elves that hate each other to the death, and they would
I
rather
feel like
have.
that's yeah. I think that's like calmed down, but in the past, like Tolkien kind of wrote that in, and everything's based on Tolkien basically.
Mm,
So I think that's always been like a stereotype,
yeah,
which
just imagine like that could be such a cool campaign hook. Like war
oh
started.
my
Why?
God.
Because you wanted to marry someone. So.
Bro, and Dwelfs, man. There's nothing. That's the best name ever. There's nothing cooler than a Dwelf. All right, next game we play, I'm playing a Dwelf, man. I don't care. That's what I'm gonna do. A dwarf, a Dwelf wizard or something. That's super, super cool. No, that would be yeah, see that would be an interesting one. And it could even the forbidden love, like, okay, what happens in Romeo and Juliet? Like one of them
Mm,
is a Capulet, one of them's a Montague. So the dwarves and the elves, and then it causes like family, it almost causes like a war to break out, or
oh yeah.
the midst of battle, maybe they start a third faction of elves and dwarves who are tired of the age-long rivalry and the endless fighting. They form a third faction, and it's led by the very first dwarf. You know, he's the one who's prophesized to unite these ancient kingdoms
Yeah.
and end the blood feud forever.
Yeah, that could work. Yeah. True.
That's a campaign setting, man.
Yeah.
And the Dwelf, he would be like the number one, like your mission is to like, I don't know, go meet him and help him or something. But I could see a whole like world building around that theme. Um,
Definitely. I
the
could
other thing,
imagine like a campaign could start like you try to bring peace to these two clans who fight for centuries, and then you have to be like the middleman. Just in the end to fight out, it was just two people just tried to get married. That was like the whole the point where they decided no, now we go to war with each other for centuries. Like this could be so amazing. Like at the end, as the reveal
mm,
of it, like I would be as a game player, I would be like I'm out, I'm out. Sorry, but this is too hilarious. The people are not even alive anymore. So yeah.
wait, so you're saying the people are about to get married and then they die and
No, like
that
for
makes them
example,
think of
like for example, they want to get married. The clans get wind of it. Then the clans decide no, they cannot marry, and now we go to war against each other. And that goes on for centuries. The people who wanted to
oh yeah,
get married, they just flew and they got married somewhere else. But these clans are still fighting like centuries after because of that feud. And
dude.
like just imagine as a player you find that out and like they're not even alive anymore. So what do you care?
That's what my father-in-law had an experience at a pub when I think it was a rugby match, and there was English versus, or he was in France, and it was England versus South Africa,
Hmm.
and France was rooting hardcore for South Africa, and he's South African, and so when South Africa won, he was like the hero. They were all super happy. And he was like, "Why?" So then at some point in the night, he's like, "Why do you guys hate the English so much?" Or like, and he was like, the guy didn't speak very good English, but he wrote down on a piece of paper 100-year war. It's like the 100-year war that happened. Like they're like still mad about that and like take it out in rugby matches by like rooting against England.
Ah, that's so funny though.
So it's like this stuff happens, man. It's true. It's a great oh, and so what I would do as a DM for this campaign is like the people are going to like resurrect, somehow bring back the two who are gonna get married.
Hmm.
And because there's something about bringing them back to life and then taking that would be the only thing to stop this war before it like annihilates everything. That could be a cool way to, since it's fantasy, make it relevant again.
Okay. Yeah, that could work.
How would you handle how would you handle it as DM if you had like that prompt? Or what adventure do you think you might make for the characters?
Um, I think one thing that could work is like this prompt like trap between two fronts. Like you're like a
Hmm.
mercenary in a war that you don't have any attachment to, but you
Okay.
know someone promised you gold for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So you try to figure out what is the problem, why do they fight, what can we do to fix it, stuff like this. I think that could work. The
But
other
then when you
way,
find out there's nothing you can do to fix it, really, right? Because the problem happened a long time ago, and it's just like
I mean, the players might come up with something. Um,
that's a good point. I do like leaving ish problems open ended,
mhm.
like where you don't have a solution necessarily, and just see what players come up with and kind of
That's,
roll with that.
I mean, like, isn't that like a DM's life? You write a campaign and then you throw the campaign book in the trash because the players do their own thing. Like, that's our lives, right? So,
True.
um,
That's pretty much
so yeah,
true.
that's a hook I think could work. The other one is obviously it's one of the group, like they're a friend group or something like this, and one of them was the one who tried to get married. So they tried to convince everybody that it's a good thing. So that there wasn't like
Hmm.
100 years war. It was just like, oh, so you want to marry him or her, then yeah, we go to war. So that would be like an imminent thing instead of it already happened. Um,
Yeah, that is true. And
um,
then the player's quest is obviously to go and convince them not to get married, to break up the relationship, so to stop the war.
One thing I also think could really well work. Now that I think of it, it's like two clan chiefs and they try to marry.
Yeah.
And it's like the clan is like, if you're gonna marry, then we're gonna elect a new chief and stuff like this. So the chief has some personal interest in not being replaced, but they still want to get married. So they try to find a solution there. Um, and I would imagine that is the last two campaign hooks. They're more like a friendly campaign. I would call it like a campaign where there's very little fights. The first one would be
Interesting.
because the war already started. Then of course, yeah, you can have fights. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, you never know with players too. They might just pick fights.
definitely. I
Like you
had,
said, you don't have control over that.
I mean, I had players once who really tried to fight everybody, and they just like they ended up like beating the daughter of the chief or something. Like really stupid stuff. I was like,
Oh
guys,
my
please. And I
God.
don't like to intervene in campaigns. I was like, guys, please, can you just stop?
You
And
just
so yeah, I can agree. Players that they might pick a fight with everybody. Um,
there's a great video where there's like it's the characters who think that they can play Skyrim or play D&D like Skyrim or something. They're
mhm.
like, so I killed the shopkeeper or whatever, like, and then they're like, okay, like a dozen town guards come, like fully armored, the whole place is alerted, and you're like, wait, what? But I go into stealth. I rolled a stealth check. It's like, no, no, that's not, you know,
Yeah,
not how it works in D&D. It's like it's kind of you got to think about things. But
yeah.
yeah. So I like that. Makes sense.
What would
So
you
okay,
do?
so the
Go
other
ahead.
thing about marriage that I thought could be an interesting topic is the idea of like union, but like it like kind of expanding the idea of like
Mm-hmm.
thinking of a union of two souls, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one thought that came up is like, is that what's happening with like a warlock and his patron? Could that be considered like almost like a marriage relationship? And what if you treat it a little more like,
Oh,
you know, like there's a relation, a deep relationship there, you know?
that somehow sounds weird. Like if you would marry into the family. I know that was
Okay,
the
because I
first
think
thing
most
that came
people
to my
think of
mind.
like a master-servant relationship where you're not that connected to the warlock's patron.
Uh-huh.
Like you kind of talk very rarely and you kind of just do your job in service of this thing and you
Yeah.
kind of, but I've never thought about it as like actually being a close relationship. And maybe there's like when you become a warlock, don't you have to do some kind of like ceremony, which is almost like a a dark twisted marriage ceremony if it's an evil, or if it's a fae, maybe it's actually you could actually have a marriage ceremony. I don't know, like um, but yeah, it's like looking at it from a different view of like this lifelong commitment
Mm-hmm.
and like deep relation, like the most important relationship a warlock has, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds kind of weird to me, to be honest. But that's maybe just my personal view on it. But
But
I don't
like
know.
weird is yeah, weird is fine. But what do you think that would like? Do you think it would work in a game or not, or does it bring in like world building or plot ideas to you?
I don't think it would work very well. Um, I think it would be more interesting if it would be between players than between. I don't know if you could call it God, but something like a God and yeah, God and you.
I don't think of patrons as like deities. I think of them as more just like really powerful otherworldly beings, personally.
Hmm. I mean, of course, players can always make it work. But I don't know. I think I would feel weird with it. It, like I said, it sounds like married into the family. Um,
Okay, interesting.
what
I
do you
would do it
think?
probably more like as an NPC. So
Mm-hmm.
like having that like, but I don't know exactly. I didn't think about like what the adventure would be. It would just be more like yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But I was just thinking of like what other kinds of unions are there, And there could be like so another idea could be like a blood brother pact,
Mm-hmm.
like two warriors who like make some unbreakable oath that they will always fight side by side. And then, there's some kind of conflict. One of them turns evil and the other, but still the other one feels like he's bound to this oath because it's,
No,
unbreakable
no,
in his honor
not
or
just that. You
something like
could. I don't know if you know the Harry Potter movies or the books, but there they have this bond thing, and it's like a spell. And if you break the bond, you die. Um,
that.
and so
Oh,
it's a
interesting.
step
Yeah.
further. You know, you cannot break that bond. Like literally, you
That's
cannot.
cool.
Um, which that I
I
think
like
would be
that.
very interesting. Just imagine like two players having this bond, and then yeah, like you said, if one turns evil, the other one has to go or fight. I don't know if you can even fight the other guy because they have a bond.
Hmm.
So they kind of have to get along no matter what the other does because they are bond, and if one dies, then probably campaign is over. That could be very interesting,
Or
actually.
even you could have it if it's powerful enough, the bond could make it so that if one dies, it still like has to carry the bond as like a ghoul or a ghost or something like that. That could be an interesting villain, like arch villain, where he has like, and it could be a cool mechanic where there's like some kind of his spectral, blood brother
Mm-hmm.
who, when you attack him and fight him, you've got both of them as uh as enemies, or that's like a special legendary action he can take is to
Okay.
use the blood brother's ghost. So,
Interesting. I think that that could very well work in a campaign, but not as like oh, the adventure is built around this, but more like just some players in your group have that.
hmm.
Like that could be amazing. Or even the full group. Like just imagine a group of five. They're all I don't know from the same clan or from the same family, and they have this family curse that they always have to work together. They can literally not split, so they have to go literally
Hmm.
through bad and good because they are born through this curse. And then just the full group has to always make group decisions and all have to agree on something, or at least like they kind of have to make them kind of agree. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
I think that
No,
could
that makes sense.
very well work in a campaign.
Yeah, no, that could be cool. I was also just thinking that like if you wanted to do a D&D campaign that's based around fetch quests, because we all know how fun and popular those are in RPGs.
Mm?
You know, fetch quests.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
get 10 bags of like griffin toenails. And you're like, okay, let me get some griffin toenails. I'll kill 100 griffins.
Oh
Just
my god.
no, but
Uh,
like I could see because you usually don't see those because it's but like if a marriage ceremony requires um them to have certain items
mhm,
like the each person of the clan has to be draped in the skin of a young dragon youngling. So then like they hire the adventurers to go slay two young dragons because and you have to figure out like how to find them and what to do and whatever adventure ensues. But you
mhm,
could have like, okay, we need these ingredients to have the ceremony so that we can be wed, or like I need to have my whole family there, and my brother has disowned the family and gone and
mhm.
lived up in these dangerous mountains, so we need you to go up into those mountains and convince him to come down for the wedding. And
Oh god.
because right, like it's like a different and, oh yeah, and then you can have either convince him or like you gotta like basically like knock him out and put him in a burlap sack, but you gotta get him physically in the ceremony for
Oh
the wedding to
god.
be recognized by the elders or whatever, or by the tradition. So it's like because yeah, you don't think about things like that as being like that is a lot of the super important stuff, I think, is like life or death when it
Mhm.
comes to fantasy world building. It's like, okay, the fate of the world is at stake, or like if you don't do this. But like, what if there's like something very important, like these people, it might be even more important than life or death for
Mhm.
them to make this sacred bond and be married, right? Um, so then it's like a different what's it called? Motivation than usual. And you can
Okay.
build ideas around that. Like that's super important to get married. What's the obstacle stopping it? And then kind of have an adventure
Mhm.
that's based on that. So I thought that was kind of an interesting idea that I don't see in fantasy games that much. And you know,
Interesting.
um,
I mean, we could try to build something like this for the next Themesia stream. Something like
oh,
this.
that's a cool
So
follow
I,
up.
I I would really like to have like another ice region in it, like a bit Norway inspired, and
Okay.
something like this could very well work because in these Norse cultures originally, they had like very strong bonds like this, and I think that
Um,
could very well work in such a setting. So maybe
okay.
we try
And I
something like
mean,
this last next time.
that would be cool to incorporate there. And I have another idea too that probably would be a separate island, but I don't know, could be Norse as well. No, but I was thinking that like, oh, maybe this is part of the Norse thing. But we'll talk about it more, but I'll throw it out there as a cliffhanger before we wrap up the podcast. And that's like like an island where you like it's like the marriage island. And there's maybe like an altar at the top of the highest point of this island, and you have to get there as the culture. It's like culturally to be married, you and your partner have to go to the top of this mountain and do the ceremony. But it's like
Oh,
a dangerous ass island. So like the adventurers could be hired to escort the couple, to the point where they need to do this.
I want to build this into a campaign. That sounds really really cool. Or at least a one shot for Themesia. That sounds really
That
really
would be
really
a good
cool.
one shot, actually.
Yeah,
That's true. It wouldn't have to be too involved. It could just be like two or three or five challenges, 2 to 5
definitely.
challenges to get to the top. And once you get to the top, maybe there's a portal to get back, so you wouldn't even have to do the return journey, something
Wow,
like that.
that sounds cool,
Who
man.
knows?
I'm
Cool,
excited. So,
man.
so next time we build the marriage island, which is the this
All
island, and
right.
they also have in general just they form a lot of bonds there. They
Yeah,
have strong bond culture, clan culture, but they also are known for their marriage rituals. So one of them is to go to that mountain and really prove that you really want to marry that person. Um,
that's awesome.
all
Maybe you
right.
even get some stat bonuses too. It's always a nice perk.
All right.
All right,
Cool.
cool.
Cool. Cool.
Oh, Hyenox just made it at the very last second, sneaking in there.
Ah, we are just about to wrap it up. Ah.
All right, well, let's see what his last comment is. We can honor him with the final word. He says, now, now, now picture people being too lazy to do that and breaking up over it.
Just like on the like on the tip of the mountains, like last year, it's like I don't want anymore. Let's just go. And the
This isn't
adventures are
worth
like,
it.
what the why?
Yeah.
And then the father
And
is
that's
like,
it for us
and then
for
the
the
sorry, okay, all right.
no, I was just gonna wrap up the podcast. I thought that was a perfect spot.
I just wanted to throw it in one last idea, like about that. So let's just imagine, like you break it up, and then the adventurers still want to get paid, and the father's like, "No, but you didn't complete the adventure, so
Yeah.
why should you get paid?" That's
How I'm gonna write a book, how to not DM and just like ways to like completely ruin your player's experience.
Oh my god, I want to see this. All right, first
That'll
pen and
maybe
break
be the
book.
next podcast.
All right,
We could discuss those ideas. All right.
cool.
And this was the technically the third maybe podcast, but the first inaugural podcast for the question mark
Podcast. Yeah,
podcast with Phil and Shams and Will.
and where it's very important. Um,
Oh man. All right.
all right,
Cool.
then
Catch y'all
was
next time.
all right. Then have a great time, and yes, see you soon. Bye.